and I am going to recognize the gentleman from the great state of Alabama.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've seen crime rise in Democrat-ran cities, including in my home state of Alabama in the two largest Democrat-ran cities. That would be Birmingham and Montgomery. Senator Tubblebull has noted that he would be supportive of the National Guard coming in to help local police departments in Alabama with rising crime. Mr. Mangle, have we seen an improvement enough that would warrant the National Guard coming to Alabama from these other cities where we obviously like D.C., where we've deployed the Guard?
Yeah, so I do think that there's some pretty significant evidence that the deployment of the National Guard, whether it's in Washington, D.C. or in some of the other places where it's been deployed, has had a beneficial deterrent effect through the presence, right? The problem, to the extent that there is one, is that those benefits are going to be limited. And so I think it's best that those kinds of efforts are coupled with other federal agency deployments and prioritizations of things like 922G cases, which are gun prosecutions, gang prosecutions, et cetera.
Yeah, so far, since operations started in D.C., we've had nearly 3,100 arrests and 300 firearms seized. What does that tell you about the depth of unchecked criminal activity prior to the National Guard being here?
I mean, I think it tells you that, Washington, D.C., like many other American cities, has been for a long time under-policed, right? When you have additional resources coming in and they're able to make significant numbers of arrests, that tells you that, the city did not have what it needed beforehand, and that should be a lesson to the leaders to add to the force size.
And if the resources for policing are there, Mr. Mauro, you may want to touch on this too as well. These soft-on-crime DAs, when they just turn the folks back out, doesn't that go against, just certainly the morale in the police departments? If we have politicians criticizing police officers, when we're soft on them after they go through the trouble to make an arrest, to try to get somebody, put them behind the bars, and then we turn them right back out, and in the case of Ms. McKinney, we have officers and individuals attacked again. Mr. Mauro, doesn't that hurt the morale even if we have the policing resources, if we turn the people right back out, isn't that going to create a problem for society?
Well, of course it does, sir. And the result can be, in some instances, therefore, a lack of enforcement. If you make, let's say, an arrest for a low-level offense that should go downtown, so to speak, and when you get there, it's DP'd, as they call it, declined prosecution. When that happens regularly, you begin to understand that it's not what the system you work for wants. And so I'm very cognizantly choosing that example because it's one of the things that led to the beginning of the disorder in our subways. The lifeblood of New York City is the subway system. That's the city's circulatory system. And jumping fares, as they call it, fare beating, is one of the ways that the entire policing revolution that we had in the 90s was really founded on that as one of the principal enforcement mechanisms. Because not everybody who jumps the turnstile is a member of a robbery crew, certainly. But if you are a member of a robbery crew, you're not paying the fare. And so when somebody jumps the turnstile and you give them just a summons, and it turns out that they have 2 robbery warrants on them, well, now you have the ability to take them off the street. And that is a cascading effect on the safety in the system. And that was really one of the broken windows linchpins. And ultimately what happens is when that is no longer enforced, and I should mention that the district attorneys in New York, we have 5, at least 4 literally don't enforce that crime. It's on right in the day one, the infamous day one memo of Alvin Bragg, saying we're not going to enforce that anymore. Now, I would argue that that's not even within his power. That's the legislature that has to repeal an entire statute. Nobody's challenged that, and so on it goes. But consequently, people who would have been kept off that system now feel with impunity to jump the turnstile, go in through the outdoor, they don't pay, and now they have easy access to a place that they can commit crimes, get out of there quickly, etc. And so in addition to morale, it leads to a lack of enforcement.
So they basically just lose concern about if it's that broken window principle. If you don't stop them there, then the crime just escalates, and certainly individuals who are jumping the turnstiles. You said Governor Kathy Hochul, right, had moved a guard into the subways, and They were just there as a presence to deter, right? That's kind of, they're not really arresting people.
No, they don't follow the 911 system. It's not like they're getting deployed to go on particular police jobs, quote unquote. They're there for what's called their omnipresence. And you see it all over New York. It's been underway, as I mentioned, since 9/11. So that's 25 years without incident. You see them in the Oculus, downtown, which is a big transportation hub. You see them in Penn Station, in Grand Central. They just stand there. But because they're there, it takes weight off of the police and it sends the message that this area is observed. So very often perpetrators will move on.
Thank you. I'm out of time. I'll yield back, Mr. Chairman.